Saturday, October 18, 1884. It was the day of the worship of Kali, the Divine Mother. The worship was to begin at 11 o'clock at night. Several devotees arrived in the temple garden early in the evening. They wanted to visit Sri Ramakrishna during the holy hours of the night of the new moon. M came alone to the garden about 8 o'clock in the evening. The great religious festival had already begun. Lamps had been lighted here and there in the garden, and the temples were brightly illuminated. Music could be heard in the Nahabat. The temple officers were moving about hurriedly. There was to be a theatrical performance in the early hours of the morning. The villagers had heard of the festive occasion, and a large crowd of men and women, young and old, was streaming in. In the afternoon, there had been a musical recital of the Chondi by Raj Narayan. Sri Ramakrishna had been present with the devotees and had enjoyed the recital immensely. As the time for the worship approached, he was overwhelmed with ecstasy. M found Sri Ramakrishna seated on the small couch in his room. Baburam, the younger Gopal, Horipodo, Kishori, a relative of Niranjan, a young man from Aryadaha, and other devotees were seated on the floor facing him. Ramlal and Hazra were in the room part of the time. Niranjan's young relative was meditating in front of Sri Ramakrishna, as the master had bidden. M saluted the master and took a seat. After a while, Niranjan's relative bowed low before Sri Ramakrishna and was about to depart. The young man from Aryadaha also wished to leave. The master said to Niranjan's relative, "When will you come again?" Devotee: "Perhaps next Monday." Master eagerly: "Do you want a lantern to take with you?" Devotee: "No, sir. I live next to this garden. I don't need a lantern." Master to the young man from Aryadaha: "Are you going to?" Young man: "Yes, sir. I have a slight cold." Master: "All right. Cover your head." They again saluted the master and took their leave. It was the awe-inspiring night of the new moon. The worship of the Divine Mother added to its solemnity. Sri Ramakrishna was seated on the couch, leaning against a pillow. His mind was indrawn. Now and then he exchanged a word or two with the devotees. Suddenly, he looked at M and the other devotees and said, "Ah, how deep the young man's meditation was." To Horipada, "Wasn't it deep?" Horipada, "Yes, sir. He was motionless as a log." Master, to Kishori, "Do you know that boy? He is a cousin of Niranjan." Again, there was silence in the room. Horipada was gently stroking the master's feet. The master was humming some of the songs he had heard that evening during the recital of the Chundi. He sang softly, "Who is there that can understand what Mother Kali is? Even the 6 darshanas are powerless to reveal her."